Welcome to the 12-Minute Talks podcast presented by Mom Life and Health Insurance Agency. Learn actionable insights from our guests in just 12 minutes. Each episode features business owners, entrepreneurs, and industry experts who share their experiences and strategies.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to another episode of the 12-Minute Talks podcast. I'm excited to have with us today Alina Nunez from Nunez Estate Law and Title, where they believe that services should go beyond paperwork. Alina, thank you so much for being on today.
Thank you so much for having me here today.
Of course, so I think this is a topic that a lot of people have questions about. Maybe they have ideas of what it is, or they might say, "Oh, I don't need estate planning. I'll just do a will myself from Office Depot or something," right?
Oh, God.
So I'm
You're
sure
killing me. You're killing me.
I'm sure you have plenty of horror stories about that.
Oh, yeah.
But before we get into more details about what you actually do and who you help, why don't you tell the audience how you got started in this industry?
Sure, absolutely. I would love to. So, I have been a practicing attorney. I'm going on about 23 years as an attorney. I'm born and raised here in Miami. I started working at law firms right out of high school. The summer I graduated high school, I got my first office job and I started working at a law firm. And it's funny because I would tell my boss, I don't want to be a lawyer. Don't think, you're going to convince me to be one. And sure enough, as started working there and everything, I really did enjoy what I was doing and decided, okay, I went to FIU, got my bachelor's in business administration, and then I went to law school at Nova Southeastern University. And ever since then, I worked at the beginning with different attorneys at different law firms, predominantly doing real estate law, which is what I did at the beginning for many, many years. And then in 2014, I decided to open up my own practice. And I knew that I wanted to add something else besides real estate. I love real estate, but I wanted to add something else. And estate planning and probate is very kind of close to my heart because my father had Alzheimer's. And thankfully, because I was an attorney and kind of knew what was coming along, we were able to prepare and get all of his documents in order before, it progressed. And it made things a lot easier, on my mom to be able to manage things while he was alive and was progressing with the disease. And the day he passed away, not having to get tied up in probate and deal with that. And then even when my mom recently passed, because I set everything up for her, again, we avoided having to go through probate and that nightmare. So that was really the reasoning why I added those practice areas, and I've developed them over the last 14 years. And now my firm, that's what we, specialize in.
Fantastic. So it's great that, you were able to take something personal and transform it into a business so that now helps other people. But I feel like a lot of people, they maybe hear the word estate planning and they're like, oh, I don't have any assets. Or,
Yeah.
so why? I don't need to do any of that. Can you tell us a little bit more about what estate planning is, when somebody should look at getting estate planning done?
Absolutely. And that is like the number one myth. People think that and they like, oh, that's for the rich people. That's not for me. Or they hear the word trust and they're like, oh, that's for like really rich people. And that's not true at all. Estate planning is basically about giving you the power of how you want your assets to be passed down the day you pass away and keep your family out of court. And your estate, that big word, you think, oh, an estate, it could be your house, it could be bank accounts, it could be investment accounts, sure, like a money market, 401k, anything like that. It could be, your prized possessions, maybe your motorcycle or that antique car that you have, or even paintings. All of that, all of our personal assets, jewelry, everything makes up our estate. So a lot of people have that misconception of, oh, I don't have anything. I'm not, that's for rich people. No, at all. The minute you own anything, even as simple as your house, you should definitely have your estate planning in order. And then another kind of, I guess, misconception is estate planning. Yes, it's mostly planning for the day you pass. But like I mentioned, it's also planning while you're alive. What if, heaven forbid, you end up in an accident and you're still alive, but you can't make decisions for yourself. You're in a coma or anything like that. Having your power of attorneys, your healthcare surrogate, all of that is considered part of estate planning. So that's something people don't realize.
That makes sense, and I see it a lot. Like I do insurance, and I see a lot of seniors out there that they don't have a power of attorney. And I'm like, somebody needs to get a power of attorney because even to sign, insurance contracts, if I see somebody's not well, I'm not doing that. So
Yeah,
somebody there in that
absolutely.
family has to get that before the situation progresses, right? So should anybody, like what you were saying about, while you're living, is that something everybody should do even if you don't have kids or family, or you're
Absolutely.
single and no dogs to claim?
Yeah, and your estate plan changes with you. So if, let's say, right now you sit down with me and we sit down and look at the best estate plan for you right now, and let's say you don't have children. You are married, but maybe you don't have children, or you're single, but you own your home. And then in, 4 or 5 years, you decide to get married. You call me up, hey Alina, I'm getting married. What do I gotta do? Perfect. We'll change your estate plan to now include your husband. It's an ever evolving plan. It's not like a set in stone. So definitely as things go, or maybe the person you named as, like, let's say your executor, maybe they pass away. So now you got to change your plan and put someone else in place. So it's always changing. The best example I give, and most people don't realize this and they kind of freak out a little bit, is the minute that you turn 18, you're considered an adult in this country. And the laws say, unless there's a written document, nobody can make decisions on your behalf, right? The biggest example is I have an 18-year-old son. And the minute he turned 18, I had to do his estate plan. He doesn't own anything. He lives at home with me. But I did his medical power of attorney. I did his durable power of attorney, because heaven forbid something were to happen to him and he ends up in the hospital, even though I'm his mother, legally, unless there's a document, I can't make decisions for him. And people don't realize the severity of that. So as soon as you're an adult, you need to have your estate plan. Now, if you don't own any assets, then maybe a trust right now is not necessary. But the day you buy something, we add it on and we go changing it as your life changes.
What I'm hearing is that at the very minimum, have, like, if I can't do things for myself, then so and so can make medical decisions or
Correct.
financial decisions, right? There's different kinds that
Yep.
people get. You know, it's very funny, but people will tell me, like, oh no, but my son is 20. And I'm like, okay, I need to talk to your son because you can't sign anything for him. Like, oh, they'll tell me
Nothing.
things like, oh, I thought it was at 26. I'm like, no, like at
It's at
18, you're
18.
an adult.
When
Like,
my son
yeah,
turned 18 years old, the I had him on my Walgreens app and I could see all his medications and everything. The day of his 18th birthday, I get an alert on the app from Walgreens saying you no longer have access to his account. You have to now send him an invite to
right.
see if he allows you access. I went, what?
What do you mean?
I felt so insulted.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Or people will be like, oh, my child. And then I'm like, how old is your child? Oh, 30 something. I'm like, ma'am,
They're
like,
not that.
it never ends, I'm telling you.
Yeah.
So why don't we switch gears a little bit, because we also talked about probate. And that's
Yes.
also one of those words that, whenever like a celebrity dies, people like to bring up probate, right? Like the estate and the probate of this celebrity and like how they did it wrong. So
Yeah.
what exactly is probate? And I hear that in Florida, it's a little bit different than maybe other places. I could be wrong about that too, but that's what I've heard.
So, probate basically is the legal process, the court process of administering your estate if you did not have proper estate planning done. And what I mean by proper estate planning, I don't mean just a will. Some people think that a last will and testament is enough, and it's not. A will does not avoid probate. That is like the biggest, like, if pay attention to that. A will doesn't avoid probate. So even if you have a will, your family's still going to go through probate. A trust, other things do avoid probate. So that is the legal process where you have to hire attorneys, you have to go to court, you have to go through this process where the court then, if you have a will, make sure that the will is valid, that it was done correctly, that it doesn't violate the laws of the state of Florida, and then go through the process of distributing your assets based on all those laws. If you didn't have a will, then the court decides based on state law who receives your assets. So that's why I say doing estate planning is giving you the power. Because I had an estate once where the sister and the brothers hated each other, did not speak for years, and she passed away unexpectedly from a heart attack with a lot of money in her bank account and no will. And she was not married, she never had children. So the according to the law, the ones who inherited were her two brothers, who she despised. But that's the problem. If you don't have a will or your estate planning done, the court is going to do it for you. And so that is that legal process, which takes time, goes through the court gets involved, everything has to oversee everything. It's public. That's the other big thing. It is public. People can see who received what assets you had, all of that. They can even see your will. Once a probate is open, the will becomes public records with the court. And it takes time. It takes a lot of time and unnecessary expense.
So, in other words, if you want to take control of what happens after you pass away, it's important to not just do estate planning, but avoid probate with all the services that
Exactly.
you provide. And do you work with a specific niche, like other professionals or just people in general?
Just people in general. I mean, really what we try to focus on in our biggest, niche is somewhere between the age of early 40s to early 60s professionals, that maybe have acquired some wealth and to really sit down and kind of plan. But I have all type of estate planning and I can help any type of client, whether it's a very elderly person who's has their one house and their small little bank account. That's fine. We want to keep that out of probate. Or even if it's someone that's young like that, that's starting off, maybe they just bought their first property, they're not even married or anything. Great. Let's get you set up from the beginning. Let us advise you, let you know if you do get married, what can potentially happen and what not, and protect your assets. So really any age, individuals we help. I mean, the majority, I'd say the ones that are really thinking about protecting themselves are that middle group, because, maybe they have younger kids that are growing up and they're starting to see, oh, wait a second, I need to start getting the ball rolling on this and get my affairs in order.
Totally makes sense. Well, this has been very valuable information, I'm sure. And how can somebody reach out to you if they would like to learn more?
Absolutely. So the best way, obviously, is call our office, and our number is 305-962-5929. We are located in Miami. We service the entire state of Florida. I've done estate planning for people on the West Coast, in Naples, all throughout Florida. Or you can also go to our website, and that is willsattorneymiami.com. And you can check out all our information. You can put in a request through there, and you can see a bunch of our videos, or you can follow us also on social media at Nunez Law FL, like the state of Florida. And you can see on our Instagram, on our Facebook, our TikTok. I put out a lot of content, a lot of videos, just to kind of debunk some myths and educate people. So, they're not going, oh, but I heard this or I saw this, and, try to give them good advice.
Fantastic. So, like always, I will have all of the links down below so that those of you listening or watching can follow our guest today. And I just wanted to quickly introduce myself for those of you that don't know who I am. I'm Lorena Tomasini and I help families and businesses not become GoFundMe pages. So, Alina, it's been great having you on today. I do have one final question for you.
Sure.
What would you say is maybe a good productivity tip for like those business owners that you help?
I would definitely say to kind of take action, take care of the things that you need to take care of now. Don't keep putting it off and putting it off and putting it off. I get it. Estate planning is not a sexy subject. It's not something everybody wants to talk about, dying and what happens if you die, but it's reality. So I would definitely say is don't put that off. Tackle it, get it done, and then you can kind of like, okay, it's done, and it gives you peace of mind.
100%. Like we always say, to delegate this to people that know what they're actually doing and not go on ChatGPT now and be like, oh,
Oh, please
act as
don't.
an estate. No.
Oh,
Like,
please don't.
right? Like, no, you're just creating more of a hassle, right? Like,
Yes,
okay, be informed. So when you talk to the attorney or whatever, you at least know what they're talking about, right? But
absolutely.
that makes total sense. Well, Alina, thank you so much for being on today.
Thank you so much. I appreciate it.
Thank you for tuning into this episode of the 12-Minute Talks podcast, presented by Mom Life and Health Insurance Agency. If you enjoyed today's conversation, remember to share and subscribe. Connect with us on Instagram, Facebook, and YouTube. Remember to make it a great day.